Mr. President, the Trump administration released its fiscal year 2018 budget this morning. For all the talk on the campaign trail to standing up for the forgotten Americans in this country, the president's budget takes aim at the exact programs that many rely on. From health care and food stamps to student loans and disability, President Trump's budget is nothing less than an assault on seniors, low-income Americans, children, and the disabled. The president's budget calls for more than $3.6 trillion in cuts to federal spending over the next 10 years, with more than $1 trillion of these cuts coming from some of the most vital programs in our nation's social safety net. Nothing is more essential to our nation's low-income, disabled, and elderly Americans than Medicaid and the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program known as SNAP. But the president's budget slashes more than $600 billion from Medicaid, despite the president's repeated promises on the campaign trail to protect the program. More than 3 million people in my state, 20% of the people who live there, currently depend on the Medicaid program for health care, including 1.5 million children and more than 300,000 seniors and disabled people. The budget cuts $193 billion from SNAP by making it harder for people to qualify for this assistance in putting food on the table. 44 million children, disabled, and low-income people around the country accessed food through the SNAP program last year. Also weakened in the president's budget is temporary assistance to needy families block grants that help states provide financial assistance to families that are literally struggling to survive. And the budget cuts about 20% funding for the Children's Health Insurance Program, providing health insurance for poor children. Isn't that incredible? The president doesn't believe that's a priority. Health insurance for poor children? It's often said that the president's budget reflects our values, and this budget shows that President Trump clearly values tax cuts for the upper income individuals in America over the lives of poor and middle-class Americans. The president's budget also includes historic cuts in non-defense discretionary spending. Over the next 10 years, President Trump proposes to cut domestic spending so significantly that spending on defense would exceed spending on domestic priorities by almost $300 billion. To pay for an increase in defense spending and to build his big, beautiful wall, the president would slash funding for programs essential to hardworking Americans, programs that support affordable housing, home heating bills, Meals on Wheels, student loans, clean drinking water, preserving the Great Lakes, early childhood education, and infrastructure. Even medical research is on the Trump chopping block. President Trump has proposed cutting 1/5 of the budget for the National Institutes of Health, including $1 billion from the National Cancer Institute. President Obama, with Vice President Biden, with strong bipartisan support, put together a moonshot, a cancer moonshot, to do something significant in cancer research. President Trump's budget virtually eliminates it. NIH has helped cut U.S. cancer death rates by 11% in women, 19% in men. It has helped ensure HIV/AIDS is no longer a death sentence, contributed to the near eradication of polio and smallpox. But make no mistake, these changes didn't just happen. They occurred because of sustained federal investment in medical research. I want to salute my colleague on the other side of the aisle, Roy Blunt, who is the Appropriations Subcommittee Chair when it comes to NIH. For 2 straight years now, 2 fiscal years, he's given more than a 5% real growth in NIH spending. I have praised him on the floor and back home and publicly over and over again. That Republican senator and many Democratic senators stood together because we believe in medical research. The Trump budget does not. We cannot afford these devastating cuts, and we can't afford to sit on our hands and face the millions of families across America who count on us to have the right priorities. Clearly, the president's budget is far from, quote, a new foundation for American greatness. This budget would have a devastating impact on Americans most in need of a helping hand on everything from health care to food access, to quality education and affordable housing. They always say the president's budget's dead on arrival. Well, this budget, I hope, will be dead on arrival. It doesn't deserve the light of day or a breath of life. We need to come together as we did in this year's budget on a bipartisan basis, order the priorities that America sent us to prioritize, and then work together to pass it. I hope it's done on a bipartisan basis. That's what America wants, both parties to work together. We can do it. We did it for this fiscal year. We can do it for the next. But our first step in reaching an agreement is to make sure there is a sound rejection of President Trump's budget. His budget will not make America great again.